Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Public Fleets webinar today. We'll be starting in just a few moments. We are placing all lines on mute to minimize any feedback issues. So if you have any questions, please enter them into the question prompt on the GoToWebinar toolbar, and we'll address those during the Q&A section of our webinar. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. First of all, my name is Rona Matthews, and I'm the Project Manager for Dealership and Fleet Programs at the Center for Sustainable Energy. I will be the moderator for today's webinar. First and foremost, I want to welcome you all to our first webinar in our 6-part webinar series. During our entire webinar series, we will discuss some of the incentives available to fleets, highlight the barriers to fleet electrification, and feature fleet managers who have successfully electrified all or part of their fleet. We'll be sure to leave time at the end of the presentation for questions. We're asking that all attendees please enter their questions into the question prompt in the webinar toolbar. Please enter questions into this prompt as they arise, and we will address them at the end of the presentation. We've muted all phone lines and will only be accepting questions submitted electronically. And I did want to provide a CVRP overview for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project. So CVRP promotes clean vehicle adoption in California by offering rebates of up to $7,000 for the purchase or lease of new eligible zero-emission vehicles, including electric, plug-in hybrid electric, and fuel cell vehicles. The Center for Sustainable Energy, or CSE, administers CVRP throughout the state of, or for the California Air Resources Board, otherwise known as CARB. CARB is part of the California Environmental Protection Agency, Cal EPA, and exists to promote and protect public health, welfare, and ecological resources through the effective and efficient reduction of air pollutants while recognizing and considering the effects on the economy of the state. And CVRP funding is determined by an annual funding plan that is developed with public input and approved by CARB. And for today's webinar, you will be hearing from CVRP End Hybrid and Zero-Emission Truck Bus Voucher Incentive Project, also known as HVIP. Sergio Morales and I will be providing you with the CVRP Light Duty Vehicle Incentive information. And Sergio Morales is a project coordinator with Dealership and Fleet Programs at CSE. We also have Tara Campi and Joey Vollmer, who are representatives from HVIP. They will be providing you with the medium to heavy duty vehicle incentive information. HVIP is an independent program administered by CalSTART. Tara is the program manager, and Joey Vollmer is an associate project manager from CalSTART. All right, so first and foremost, fleet electrification is still a relatively new idea. but promises to be a model that can be replicated by agencies and private consumers. This slide has a link to the CVRP Fleet website where you can apply for the rebate. And these slides will be sent out to everyone at the end of the webinar, and so you'll have access to all of this information. And this slide is meant to show that there are requirements for each city in terms of electrifying the fleet. So each city has a climate action plan or is developing a climate action plan, and we've seen that with most cities, they do include a fleet electrification portion of the plan, and CVRP and HVIP can help you get there. This slide shows two of the CARB incentives. Both CVRP and HVIP offer incentives for fleets, with CVRP providing the light-duty incentive and HVIP providing the medium to heavy-duty incentive. So there are 4 types of clean fuel vehicles that CVRP provides rebates for. There's plug-in hybrids, fuel battery electric vehicles, fuel cell electric vehicles, and zero-emissions motorcycles. Not all plug-in hybrids are eligible for the rebate, so be sure to check the CVRP list of eligible vehicles and the model year to see which vehicles qualify for the rebate. Public fleet vehicles are also eligible for the standard or the increased rebate amount, depending on where the vehicle is domiciled. And so the question we get most around this is, how do you know if you qualify for the increased rebate amount? So CVRP uses the Cal EPA Cal EnviroScreen 3.0 tool to determine increased rebate eligibility. You can check to see if your fleet qualifies by entering the vehicle domicile address into the Cal EnviroScreen 3.0 tool, which is also found on the CVRP Fleet website. And a lot of the time we get questions of who actually constitutes a public fleet, what is a public fleet, and I did want to mention that public agencies include local, state, and tribal government entities. Some examples include city fleets, school districts, public universities, and public authorities, just to name a few. And public agencies are eligible for up to 30 rebates annually. Another common question we receive is, how do I reserve the rebate? And Sergio Morales will be able to answer that question for you.
Perfect, yeah, and along those same lines, another common question we get is, how soon can I apply? Well, you can apply and reserve your funds up to 18 months in advance. Once approved, the money is set aside for you and it won't be returned to the pool of funds unless you go beyond your 18 months and have not acquired your vehicles. Just know that the rebate will be there after your purchase. If you have already purchased your vehicles, on the other hand, you can apply up to 18 months after delivery. I will state that before you apply, we ask that you please go to our website to ensure the vehicles you purchased are on our list of eligible vehicles. As far as the application process goes, in order to apply, we ask that you please visit cleanvehiclerebate.org/fleet/eligibility. Once you have submitted your application, one of our rebate processing specialists will review your application, send you a list of supporting documentation you need to provide, and send you a list of supporting documentation that you need to provide. You will then email the documents to publicfleets@energycenter.org. After all supporting documents are turned in, a check will be mailed to you within 90 calendar days of application approval. I know it says contingent upon availability of funds, but as I stated earlier, if your application has been approved, then the money has already been set aside for you. So no worries of the money not being there. And then for any further questions regarding this process or eligibility, you can email Rona, myself, or you can go to our website and review the implementation manual. There are, of course, requirements that need to be met on your part when applying for the rebate. The first is retaining ownership of the vehicle for a minimum of 30 months. During this time, you will submit your annual vehicle usage data at the 12, 24, and 30-month mark. The data you will submit will include, but is not limited to, mileage reporting and percentage of operation within disadvantaged communities. Lastly, if there is a change of where the vehicle is housed, please notify us as soon as possible. So you have procured your vehicles, received the rebate, and are submitting your usage data. What does that mean? Well, it sounds like you have successfully electrified your fleet. The number of electric vehicles in your fleet versus combustion engine vehicles is a big success. Success, however, can also be measured in many other ways. After all, we are trying to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and one way to do that is to decrease the amount of internal combustion engines on the road and replacing them with EVs. Another metric used to measure success is utilization of your assets. As many of you probably already know, EVs may be pricey up front, but the car pays for itself in the long run due to no oil changes and little maintenance costs, so long as you're using the vehicles. Of course, we couldn't talk about all the good things to come when electrifying your fleet without discussing some of the lower points and the reason for the webinar series. So where things can go wrong, and the first issue, one we will discuss in detail during our infrastructure and charging webinar session, is bricked vehicles. This simply means that charging infrastructure was not considered before procuring the new EVs. The vehicles end up sitting on the lot, uncharged, unused, and become more of a nuisance than a solution. The next is too many vehicles. This leads to low utilization or can contribute to the bricked vehicle dilemma. Do you really need 30 EVs when at most you might only use 15? Next is driver behavior. If your staff is not trained properly, they might use the vehicles incorrectly, forget to charge them, or have a host of many other issues. Again, we will also take a detailed look at this during our planning, procurement, and staff training session. Finally, we see problems scaling up. This can include load management, integrating the new vehicles into the already established billing system, or staffing issues. So what can you do to anticipate and correct these issues before they become a problem? First things first, and it should probably go unsaid, but is preparation. Preparation is crucial and will determine the success of your electrification. As with many new additions to your organization, you want to see how your new vehicles are performing. And to do that, you want to start by establishing key performance indicators, or KPIs. You will just about guarantee a successful conversion of your fleets once KPIs are established, you decided how to track them ahead of time, and ensured proper infrastructure is available. Next is training. Not just training in proper driver behavior, but training staff to track the KPIs you've established, and training your analysts to visualize the data so that you can track changes over time. And the final step is management. The level of oversight needed during the beginning stages of fleet electrifications are crucial when adopting new practices. Utilization of specialized fleet software will also help you track mileage, costs, and other KPIs in order to establish benchmarks and track progress over time. With that, I leave you with one of the tactics adopted by one of the most successful e-fleets in Southern California. East Orange County Water District is #1 when it comes to electric vehicle miles traveled, with over 11,000 EVMTs traveled in 1 year. One of the ways that they have accomplished this is by scheduling meetings at locations that have chargers for their vehicles. So it's simple things like this that will help guarantee the success of your new EV fleet. I hope that our presentation has hopefully inspired you to consider converting your fleet to hybrid or all-electric vehicles. And with that, I turn it back over to Rona.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Sergio. And I just want to remind everyone that you can type in your questions, and then we'll answer them at the end of the webinar. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tara and Joey from HVIP, who will be presenting truck and bus voucher incentives.
Great, thank you. My name is Tara Campy, and I'm the program manager for the Hybrid and Zero-Emission Truck and Bus Voucher Incentive Project at CalSTART, joined today by Joey Vollmer, who's a associate project manager and really does a lot of support for the HVIP program, which is active all throughout California. And as the team said, we're a companion program to the light duty side. So we are looking forward to providing some information to you today that will hopefully enable you to utilize HVIP if you haven't in the past, or provide more detailed information on how to get involved. And for the CVRP team, will you be advancing the slides for me if I can get you to go to the next one? Great, thank you. So just some background information on HVIP. It is a first come, first served program. So the vouchers offer an immediate discount at the point of sale. The program has been in place for almost 10 years. The paperwork side got going about 9 years ago, and then the first vouchers were issued. The paperwork side started 10 years ago, and then the first vouchers were 9 years ago. So we're excited about the 10-year anniversary coming up next year, where we will celebrate a decade of vouchers being in the market in California. So as with the light duty side, there's a confidence on the part of participants that when vouchers are requested, those dollars are set aside and will not be allocated to another party, so that when the vehicles are in the hands of purchasers, those dollars are available. The dealers are the ones that we work with on a day-to-day basis regarding the intricacies of the voucher system, so that there are fewer complications for the end user fleets, and the dealers participate in the program numerous times for the most part, so they are able to learn the details and be efficient outreach ambassadors and partners in the program on the ground. So we work with dealers throughout the state as well as OEMs on that education piece. We work with new vehicles as well as retrofits in the electric, hybrid, fuel cell, EPTO, and low NOx natural gas vehicles. And in the 9 years that we've been up and running, we've produced over 6,500 vouchers and worked with over 1,000 fleets throughout the state, concentrating mostly in the South Coast area in terms of the largest utilization, but we really work to have penetration throughout the state and have specific focus areas in the valley as well as statewide. You can advance to the next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. I have a couple of voucher tables. I can move through them pretty quickly just to give you a sample. So the hybrid truck and bus voucher amounts, they range from $8,000 for a base vehicle incentive for 6,000 to 8,500 GVWR up to $30,000 for vehicles over 33 GVWR. Next slide. Next, please. Zero-emission transit bus voucher amounts range from $80,000 for 20 to 24 foot outside of a disadvantaged community, all the way up for over 40 feet. If you're looking at a, excuse me one moment. Sorry that my screen's being a little wonky. If you're looking at a 40-foot hydrogen fuel cell electric bus in a disadvantaged community, would be $315,000. So we also use, as our colleagues from CVRP mentioned, we also use the Cal Enviro screen. So disadvantaged communities, environmental justice communities are defined in a uniform way throughout California Air Resource Board programs. And we work on outreach within disadvantaged communities, as well as ensuring that incentives are aligned to offer increases for vehicles that are domiciled within disadvantaged communities. Next slide. Next, please. Shuttle buses outside of a DAC, you're looking at $25,000, all the way up to in the disadvantaged community, $165,000 for those larger vehicles. And I think I have one more voucher table if we advance one more slide. School buses, ranging from $25,000 up to $235,000. And our voucher tables and eligible vehicles are continually refined on our website. I'll have a link to our website later in the webinar. So you can always find the most updated information on eligible technologies, incentive amounts, and other program information for participants. Next slide, please. Here are some examples of the eligible vehicles. We have a robust vehicle catalog that is also continually updated, working with OEMs to ensure that we have the most updated examples of vehicles, which also inform fleets out of the market that are looking for their next purchase and how that might align with incentives that are available in the state of California. So this slide shows you a sample of some of those school buses, shuttle buses, trucks, et cetera, that are available within our program, from well-known names like Orange EV, Lightning Systems, Bluebird, Motive, Proterra, and many others. Next, please. And we're really excited to be working with utilities. We've started some intense partnership with PG&E, and we'll be rolling this out to other utilities around the state to ensure that we're really aligning voucher infrastructure, voucher opportunities with the vehicle vouchers, because that really is probably the number one concern that we hear from fleets out of the market is how do we ensure that we are scaling up successfully and planning for the future with regard to infrastructure capacity and cost effectiveness in that arena. So HVIP is primarily a vehicle focused program. That won't change, but we do recognize that there's a very big need in the infrastructure space. And so we do offer $30,000, up to $30,000 for electric vehicle supply equipment, or EVSE, per vehicle voucher. And that covers hardware costs, load management, energy storage. It doesn't cover your labor or utility cost upgrades, but there are complementary programs at partners such as PG&E. And so we're working, as I mentioned a couple moments ago, we're working to ensure that we're synchronizing our outreach so we can help applicants based on the geography of their programs to take advantage of what their utility might offer, as well as the EVSE offerings from the HVIP program. We also have hydrogen infrastructure up to $100,000 available for equipment costs for fuel cell vehicles. Again, that covers the real cost of equipment. So it's basically a pass-through cost of the equipment itself. You must have at least 5 vehicle vouchers in place to take advantage of this. The EVSE is just one-to-one, but this one does require 5. And then you have to ensure that the infrastructure costs aren't already covered by another grant. And they're, as with the EVSE, the H2 is also approved on a case-by-case basis by CARB and CalSTART. And we'll have more details on the application for these rolling out shortly. But for now, next slide, please. For now, we are accepting the applications. Essentially, it's not a formal application process at this time, though it will be codified shortly. But for now, you send an email to info@californiahvip.org. So it's handled separately from vehicle vouchers, and either the customer or the dealer can request and redeem the vouchers as well. The timeline is pretty flexible. You can do it either after the vehicle is delivered or before. And you simply email us to describe the job and the cost breakdown. And then when you redeem it, you'll include an invoice, proof of payment, and as well as proof of installation, such as work order and photo. And as I said, we'll have the formal application published soon, but it's basically the same information. And then I think I have one more slide at the end here, if we can advance that. My contact information probably got moved to the end, but that's where my phone number is available on the website as well. So feel free to reach out to us. We get a lot of direct emails and phone calls about the project specifics. And then if you go to our website, which is at the bottom there, californiahvip.org, it walks you through the implementation manual, as I mentioned, the vehicle technologies, as well as participating dealers. If you are looking to make a connection, we can help you connect. Either you can look that up on the website, or you can contact us directly, and we'll help point you in the right direction. So yeah, thank you for your time, and look forward to answering any questions that you might have.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Tara and Joey. So now we'll go ahead and take I'll repeat the questions that we received, and I'll go ahead and answer them. So we have a question from Lisa. Can public fleets claim both the CVRP and carpool sticker for the vehicle? Yes, you can. You can claim both the rebate and the carpool sticker, and you should be able to use that. And then our next question is from Lawrence. Can you come to visit city staff to make a presentation, and can you provide examples of local and nearby cities who have participated in CVRP and HVIP? So I can go ahead and answer for CVRP. We actually can do a presentation for you. You would just have to email Sergio and I, and I'll flip up our contact information once again, or you can get our contact information from the slides that we're going to send to everyone later today. But yes, we do presentations and provide some technical assistance for city fleets. All right. And then we have, oh yeah, go ahead, Tara.
This is Tara. I was just going to say we're also available to do HVIP presentations, and yes, you can contact me as well regarding outreach opportunities, and we can provide specific information for what you might be looking to purchase.
All right, perfect. Another question that we have is, can you please email this presentation? Yes, we will be emailing the presentation, so the webinar and the slide decks, to everyone that has attended today. Just one more note about the webinar, though. It's too big to send via email, so we will email out the link to everyone, and you'll be able to access the webinar from there. And then I believe we have some questions for HVIP. Tara, if you want to go ahead and take those, and I'll go ahead and read it, and then you can go ahead and answer. So the question for HVIP, oh, perfect. For HVIP, for small cities, can you provide an example of the most common utilization in their fleet?
Yes, that's a great question. I'm going to call on Joey. Joey, if you have an example to share. I am, full disclosure, I'm pretty new to the program. I started at CalStart in December, and Joey has more of a rich knowledge of the history of the program. So Joey, if you have, not to put you on the spot, but if you have a case study that comes to mind that you could share, that would be great.
Yeah, so the question is in what ways has HVIP been leveraged by small communities? Is that correct? Or what type vehicle types, perhaps, even? I would say that we really do run the gambit, because with HVIP, you've got low NOx funding that is, by volume, we are assisting in the deployment of a large amount of low NOx refuse trucks, for example. Electric school buses. Just yesterday in Sacramento, Unified School District, or was it Twin Rivers, had 16 electric school buses. I believe a large amount of those 16 were funded with HVIP funding. And into the EPTO, we've got plenty of municipalities who have purchased aerial boom vehicles that are equipped with EPTO systems funded by HVIP. So there's plenty of different ways that smaller cities have taken advantage of HVIP funding. And please feel free to ask a follow-up if there's a more specific ask there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joey.
All right. Thank you, Joey. The next question is also for HVIP. Can HVIP infrastructure funding for EVSE be combined with other state sources of grant funding, such as Carl Moyer?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We are working closely with CARB on developing a stacking guidance document that will really dive into specific examples and permissions for fund stacking. So as of now, they are approved on a case-by-case basis, but we are proactively working to publish guidance that will help leverage past successes, but for now it is case by case. So you can just reach out to us or CARB for more information on that.
Yep, as Tara said, we are really excited about producing a mechanism of sorts to really sort out the different interactions between multiple funding sources. For now, it is the case that with the EVSC, as Tara said, it's a case-by-case review. But in general, the guideline at this point is that infrastructure voucher enhancement, it can be combined with any other funding source so long as it does not exceed 100% of total capital cost.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you, Tara. So the next question is actually, again, for HVIP. And so it starts out with, I was informed by our refuse truck dealer that HVIP will not be issuing vouchers for CNG refuse trucks. Is this info correct?
Sorry, you want me to take this one?
Sure. Yeah.
So it's the case that initially,
yes and no.
So this is exactly. Per an October 2018 rule change, initially we had, it was proposed to eliminate funding for 8.9 liter low NOx engine equipped refuse trucks. But in lieu of that, we are now permitting it so long as there is a diesel replacement protocol that is met. So we are asking that if there is a refuse truck that's equipped with a 12 liter, it's good for the $45,000 voucher. If it's equipped with the 8.9 liter, it would need to meet a diesel replacement requirement. This isn't a true scrappage requirement a la Carl Moyer, but we simply need to register a VIN for a vehicle with the same owner in the same geographical region that we can use as a to be sure that there is a retired diesel vehicle for every low NOx equipped refuse truck of the 8.9 liter variety.
Thank you, Joey. And so our next question is, are federal public entities eligible for the increased incentives? And for CVRP, no, federal public entities are not eligible for the increased incentive. And then our next question is, how much funding is available for CVRP? And so we actually have roughly $54 million available in funding, and you can actually check that on the CVRP website where we have the amounts for the incentives listed on there as well. And then I see that we have one more question coming in. It's, are HVIP applicants still eligible for voucher enhancements for their first 3 trucks purchased in the program?
No, the first 3 plus up has been removed.
All right, and so there actually are not any more questions left to answer. And so I did want to thank everyone for joining the webinar. And that we'll be sending you all the slide decks and then the link to the webinar series. And our next webinar is actually based around infrastructure and charging, so stay tuned for that. There will be an email invite for that as well. And once again, thank you for your time, and we hope this really helps. And you can reach Tara, Joey, myself, and Sergio through our emails. And we actually just have it a little flipped in here. So I'm actually the Fleet Programs Project Manager, and Sergio is the Project Coordinator, but you should be fine reaching either one of us. All right, perfect. Thank you all for your time. Bye.
Thank you.